Knights can be very valuable in that they're the only piece that can move in an L shape, and they can go in any direction, forward or backwards. So they're most valuable when they're placed in the center, as they have a wider range of potential moves. Now, in this case, we're going to look to trade knights with white so we can attack better, as this piece defends quite a bit. We're going to play this piece right here. Now, when defending against a knight, if you have like a bishop or a queen or even a pawn, let's say this knight wasn't here, and then we moved, let's say this right here. Well, this bishop right here, notice how it defends a lot of the squares that the knight can go to. Let's back it up one more. So if you see, the knight has all these options here. Defended by the bishop, defended by the bishop, defended by the bishop. So if you have a bishop or a pawn 2 squares back, you can cover and stop the knight from going to those places. Okay, so let's get back to the game situation right here. What we're looking to do is potentially trade. White doesn't want our knight in the center, so white pushes out a pawn. We're going to go ahead and take right there. White takes with the bishop because it had the bishop defense there. Now, we're going to double up bishop and queen. And this knight is going to be very valuable, the one that we have left. It's actually going to help us win the game. We're going to go ahead and castle and give up our rook in this spot. Okay, the plan all along, if you'll notice, white brought out its knight defender. It's not close enough to the king yet, but it will eventually be. Plan all along was to break apart white's wall. We're going to sacrifice the bishop right here. And white brings out its knight. Okay, we'll take another pawn. Computer says it's a bad move, but we're good enough to close here. We're going to go ahead and check with a queen. And the idea, after that check right there, there was only one square the king can go to. That's back here. The idea was to bring in this knight right here and combine it with the bishop. Okay. White doesn't want to comply. We have a decent move right here. We're going to play knight to h2, offering a trade here. If white takes, it's game over. White doesn't take. White's best move in this spot right here is to vacate the spot and then give up its knight in exchange for a queen, or force the queen to move in that spot, because it creates an extra defender for... Yeah, if the white moves the knight right here, it's going to create an extra defender for f3. Instead, white doesn't do that. It decides to bring out its bishop, I believe. So bring out its bishop right here. Well, guess what? There is a checkmate available right here. And if one said knight takes f3, that's correct. In this spot right here, we're going to sacrifice our bishop. Plan is to leverage this knight, and we're going to leverage it quite a bit. After sacrificing the bishop, we go ahead and go to the safe square and check with the knight. We get lucky. The king decides to go after it. Now we can protect it with the pawn. We're going to go ahead and bring our queen out. White looks to defend. Now we can leverage our other knight. And what we're looking to do is remove the bishop threat and also deliver a check. And this is going to be very important because we're now going to capture with this pawn right here. Why is that important? Because we get really lucky. White makes a bad move, questionable move here. That's going to allow us to go in with the queen and check. And that's going to force the king to the only square it can go to, g2. And now we can leverage this knight right here. It happens to guard this square. And that is exactly where we can take the queen to win the game. The knight can also be used as a defensive piece. In this situation right here, the knight is protecting f7, which is huge for us because that protects us from a bunch of rooks. But it also protects these squares right here. This is an important square because that means we can place our rook there. And there's another square we'll see later on. In this case, we're going to check. and then we get our king to safety, and then we go back to the checking phase when we decide we would like to avoid a draw. So we sneak this pawn over here, looking to break up the pawn structure. And the key point is we have a knight, and it's going to be very critical in this spot right here. White's actually going to try to dislodge it after we take there. The plan is going to be to sneak the rook back here, leverage the knight, and then maybe go back this way. So that's the plan. And then we're able to go ahead and go here and get a check fork, which ends up winning the pawn. White decides it wants to trade rooks. Our rook is now pinned, so it can't go to the side. Okay, we trade. We can move our bishop in. Now we're going to move our bishop back to defend f7. So we've got a really good defense here. White's got a rook. White tries to get its rook as far away from the knight as it can, but unfortunately, this square right here is a fork, which is another thing the knights are good at. They can fork a king in another piece. If you can see, there's quite a bit of distance there, and it's an unfortunate situation for White, and White ends up resigning right there. Knights are very effective in close range or the center. In this case right here, we want to tear apart White's position. We're going to go ahead and take this knight, and we're going to take White's knight. And the reason we're doing that is because we have left our rook exposed. So we're actually giving up a rook in this situation and a bishop. But the reason we're doing that is we're going to get this pawn right here. And this pawn is going to be very critical later on. After White takes with the bishop, we retake with the queen. Okay? White decides to go on its attack with the knight. We're going to eliminate that threat. And the idea is that White will either take here or take here, which they do. And now we can move our other knight to safety. This is very important because now the knight has helped. Both knights have helped clear out the position, and we can combine it with another piece. We're going to go ahead and check with the queen right here, even though our knight is in danger. And after thinking over for a while, White decides to play king to f1. That's great for us. We're going to use the knight, but not yet. We're going to sneak the bishop in and deliver a check. This is important. White doesn't want to block with its queen. White doesn't want to move its king, so White decides to block with the rook. Huge opportunity for us. The rook is pinned. That means the rook can't move. And guess what? This knight happens to be guarding f2. Why is that important? Because we can take the queen and go to f2, and that's game.